So Starknet is actually a special layer 2. If you remember, probably you also mentioned different types of roll-offs that we have, right? We have optimism and zero knowledge. Awesome. So Starknet, the language of Starknet is known as Cairo. You know, a couple of us here are actually developers already, right? So you already know what programming languages are. So Cairo is actually another type of programming language. And Starknet as a layer 2 was programmed with what? With Cairo. So that's what we'll be going through today. We'll be taking you through introduction to Cairo. What is Cairo? What are the specific features of the language? And what in essence, or why is there a reason to actually use Cairo? Before Starknet actually came into the limelight, there have been layer 2s introduced into the system. Arbitrum was one of them, but they all made EVM compatible state machine. What do I mean in essence is that they are compatible with whatever you can do on Ethereum directly. But Starknet took another approach entirely because of the proving system. They need to use something that is traceable. So because of the approach of Starknet, they actually need to use a language that is provable. So that is what brought about Cairo as a language. All right, so you guys have gone through fundamental, and now we are at introduction to Cairo. So what we are going to cover, I don't want to go through all of this. I believe you have already gone through it in the last session, right? How your attendance is important and the rest. So our session today will cover what is Cairo. Then we'll set up development environment to get you started with writing Cairo. We'll do introduction to data types, of which we are going to talk about scalar type and the compound data type. GM, are you with me?
Yes.
We'll then proceed to build a simple arithmetic logic, and then I'm going to give you assignments. The assignment part, you guys are laughing. You guys are already familiar with Cairo. Who has been writing Cairo already? Answer, please. You have started writing Cairo. Awesome. So why are you here?
I know this one, this is a senior dev.
He's a senior dev. So why are you not here? All right. So what is Cairo? It's a modern language that lets you write ZK provable programs without requiring deep understanding of the underlying zero knowledge concepts. Cairo is actually very similar to Rust. Is there anyone here who is a Rust programmer or familiar? Senior dev? Yes, Cairo is similar to Rust. If you are already writing Rust, you find it very easy. And then if you master Cairo, you also find Rust very easy to master. You know, I used to tell people one cheat code. If you want to master Rust, I believe you should write Cairo first, because Cairo is actually limited. So once you master the fundamental of Cairo, it will be very easy for you to now start building on top of that when you get to Rust. Because Rust is very wide, it is used for different applications, system programming, web programming, app programming, whatever you call it, Rust is there. So the essence of using Cairo is to be able to generate what is known as stack trace. So stack trace allows you to actually prove that the computation has been done. Are you following? So in the last class, I believe you understood the essence of proving to be that you do not want to duplicate computation on different computers, right? We only want to run the computation once and then send the proof to other people to verify that the computation has been done. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. So the language is built on stack technology. Stack technology is just like a research that is done to actually advance zero knowledge. A modern evolution of PCP, probabilistically checkable proofs, it transforms computational claims into constraints. So when you say zero knowledge, when you say proof, you know, proof means that if you say A plus B or 2 plus 3 is equal to 4, I do not want to actually go and type 2 plus 4 on my calculation. I just want to be able to slot the proof and then realize that yes, it is actually going to be whatever number you input in. And I will not even know whatever number you input into your calculator. Just tell me that this function is going to perform an addition. And if I run it with whatever input on my hand, maybe 1 million, 2 billion, it must actually perform the addition. Are you following? The ultimate purpose of Cairo is to generate mathematical proof that can be verified efficiently and with absolute certainty. What can you use Cairo for? You can use Cairo for general purpose programming. A lot of you will become base dev, like you'll be able to code nonsense, whatever. And then you want to start writing zero knowledge proofs. So when you get there, you find Cairo a perfect and efficient tool in your toolbox. So when you do general purpose programming, you find Cairo there, and purposely you use Cairo for Starknet smart contracts. We've written smart contract in our frequent classes, right? Solidity, right? Very sweet programming language. So if you actually want to master Cairo, there are resources for you to go through after the class. 2 hours or whatever session time will be taking you here. It's not going to be enough for you. So you still need after class activities on your own to be able to master Cairo. And we actually want you to master Cairo because it will be our joy that you are onboarded into the Cairo developer, smart contract, Starknet developer ecosystem. You have the Cairo book, which is very similar to Rust book. Cairo book is actually the document telling you or teaching you the basis of Cairo, the things you can do with Cairo. You also have what is known as Cairo by example. This is like the shortcut of the book. It takes you through everything you need in Cairo to get you started. I always tell people one thing, right? When you want to learn any programming language, don't spend too much time. Yes, know the basics, the data types, what's actually the idea behind the language. But don't spend too much time jumping from one tutorial to the other, looking for how to master it. Create a problem and try to solve that problem with that programming language you are learning. So learning on the activity helps with muscle memory and allows you to master the concepts very quick. So here you find common terminologies, common syntaxes in Cairo, and you'll be able to just check them out, code them, and see if they run perfectly well. There's also the Cairo playground. We will get to a section where we are going to be setting up development environments. Scanning around, I can see that a lot of people are using a Windows laptop, right? And it can be very difficult for you to set up Cairo Cairo programming environment on Windows, unless you are using AWS. So when you learn a concept in Cairo and you actually want to test it without setting up any development environment, you come to the playground, right? So you write whatever you want to code there, you run it, and it's going to simulate your development environment, but it is very limited. You cannot write a complete program there. You can only just test if whatever you are typing is correct syntactically in Cairo. So you will need these 3 resources. I'm going to share the slide after the class. Then when you want to learn a language, aside reading the documentation, you also need a community to be able to bounce your problem off a lot of people that are willing to help. So when you are stuck learning Cairo, where do you go? Or when you are writing a program in Cairo and you are stuck on a particular problem, where do you go? You go to Starknet Cairo Costas, or you go to Starknet Foundry support. Are you following? And then there is actually a magical tool that has been introduced in 2023. AI. And any developer who is not flexible enough to adopt AI into their workflow is going to lag behind. In fact, design your workflow around AI so that you actually work 10x of the actual development time you need to spend in the past. There's no need laboring yourself. Everybody know you are a guru. Don't start writing C++ without AI. Don't start writing Cairo. Or the thing is that, right, when you are learning, don't jump into AI. Are you following? It will not help your learning. But once you master the fundamentals and you want to actually write out code that works, yes, because one thing is that AI actually produces sloppy code. But if you do not know what you are actually doing, you will not be able to review the code or give the accurate prompts for the AI to give you the perfect code. Are you following? So one thing I used to tell people if I'm holding any AI masterclass for developers now is that don't write a project like, okay, type a prompt. I want you to build a dashboard for me. And then you think the AI is going to give you the dashboard. No, I want you to set up the development environment yourself. Set up your project structure. Then when you now start populating each of your page or file, that is when you need AI. So that you will know where each code is yourself. Not that AI is going to create the files for you. Even if AI creates file for you, it is going to be micro, not that the AI set up the whole project structure. Are you following? And don't change a whole lot at once with AI. Because if you change a whole lot at once with AI, you might not be able to track which code has been changed. Are you following? So when you get stuck after learning Cairo, there's Starknet agent. It is very, very effective. I use it all the time. Most of the time when you are in the documentation, something is not clear, you go to the AI, Starknet agent.starknet.id. You ask it to explain in a language you will understand, whatever concept you are learning. And because this particular AI is trained on all Starknet documentations, it gives you accurate information about whatever you are learning on Starknet. Are you following? There's also Cairo Coder. Cairo Coder is an MCP. We all know what an MCP is, right? 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 Is it increase or decrease? Increase. Okay. So we'll get there. But an MCP is actually what you use with the majority of the AI softwares to do a lot of uptaking for you. So in your VS Code or your cursor, I do not think there's nobody who is not familiar with cursor at this moment. Anybody? Totally. You've not been programming before you joined the bootcamp. But you have been in the class since the start of the bootcamp, right? That means you already have VS Code on your laptop. You've not been writing Solidity. Okay, you just joined. Okay. Okay. You need to make friend with any of these beautiful faces here so that they will get you started with what you need immediately, which is code editor. You need a code editor as soon as possible. And I will recommend, even if you are not going to be using Page, you download Cursor. Because every extension you can get on VS Code, you can get it in Cursor, plus additional AI feature. Yes, I believe some people will say yes, there's AI feature in VS Code too. All right, so Cairo Coder is actually a co-pilot that helps you with development in Cairo. So before we write our first line of code, we are going to get your workstation started. We'll set up a command center to build verifiable applications and to build Starknet smart contracts. We are all connected to the internet, right?
Yes.
So the first tool you need is actually a package manager for Linux and Mac. If you have WSL on your Windows laptop, let me see your hand. Oh. Code space on GitHub. Okay. Oh yeah, that works too. You know WSL. You're using Ubuntu. Makes sense. Okay. There are Windows laptop here. If you are using Linux, let me see your hand. Awesome. I thought there's no problem. Okay. So install asdf. All you just need to do is run this, check if your asdf is installed. Are we there?
Don't need to install Cohort before installing asdf.
That is if you're on Linux, right?
Share Postgres is basically Linux.
Yes. You need to install Homebrew. Or go to ASDF documentation page. You see how you can get it on your PC. So you can use any package manager. You can use Brew, Pack now to actually download and get ASDF from development environments. So whichever one you choose, once you install it, check the version by using the ASDF dash version. Do you have it already? Yes. Oh, awesome. Do you have ASDF on your PC already? Let me see your hands up. Are you getting it done? Sure, bro. I'm waiting. And then basically, right, there is actually a shortcut, but then you need to first learn the long cut before we get to the shortcut. So I will actually tell you the shortcut. If you cannot download or having difficulty downloading the SDF at the moment, don't worry, don't actually bother yourself. We'll get to where you use a single command line command to actually install your development environment. So the most important thing is that I take you through all of this so that I explain what each of these packages does. Scarb is actually the package manager for Cairo. As you have a PNPM, NPM, whatever, yarn for TypeScript, JavaScript, right? And we have Cargo for Rust, right? Scarb is the package manager of Cairo programming language. To install Scarb, since you have ASDF, you do this command. ASDF install Scarb latest. So that will enable install the latest ASDF, which is greater than 2.8.5 on your PC. Are you following? Are you following?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Awesome. So once you have Scarb, you also install Starknet Foundry. Although we do not need this now, but you are definitely going to need it as the bootcamp proceeds. So Starknet Foundry is like your Foundry in Solidity. You guys have been introduced to Foundry, right? In Solidity. So this is the Starknet version of Foundry. It helps with writing and testing Starknet smart contracts. So you use this command to install it. asdf install Starknet Foundry latest, and then you verify if your installation is done with SignForge version. Are we there?
I'm also.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Any questions so far? You are trying to install Homebrew. Okay. Any question, even if it is from the last session you had? Anything unclear about Starknet architecture? Why we allow others to actually get the development environment available on their PCs? Any questions? Are you there?
Yes, install.
So, now, this is the quickest and the easiest way to actually get your development environment ready. We use a system known as StackUp. Let me do so that you navigate to the page and actually just copy from there. Okay. So just go to Starknet Foundry website. You're going to find StackUp. Here. So you can copy the StackUp link directly from Starknet Foundry website. Paste it into your terminal, and then you have the development environment. That is going to actually shorten your your journey to getting your development environment ready. So don't bother about ASDF, whatever, do StackUp, and you have your development environment ready. If you have the environment ready, let me see your hand. So StackUp. Are you ready?
Yes.
Go to Starknet Foundry. Sorry, let me drop the link to this slide in the chat so that you can follow up from there too. If you are joining us actually, I will share the slide so you could. Oh, I'm not connected to this component. Which channel is yours in okay. Great. So now that we have our development environment set up, we are going to dive into the real class for today. I'm with my gun, I'm about to start firing. So Cairo is actually a statically typed language. By statically typed, it means that the type needs to be known ahead before compilation. If your type is wrong, the code is not going to compile. So unlike JavaScript, that is actually a runtime-based language, right? So Cairo is actually compiled time-based language. So every variable that you are using in that particular project must be known before you compile the code. It helps you prevent what? Errors, and makes your program very robust, because instead of fishing for bugs in production, a lot of the bugs would have been discovered upon compilation, and you'll be able to fix them before you actually compile successfully and then deploy to a runtime environment. The thing about Cairo is that they are still working on the language, and it's as robust as the Rust language currently. We'll get to a part where we learn about data, when we actually write this type out, the different types, and then you realize that even without explicitly annotating a type, a variable, the Cairo compiler is going to be able to determine which value belongs to which variable. Are you following? So the compiler in fast type, and sometimes too, you need to actually make it explicit. Are you following? Yeah. So Cairo organizes data into two primary categories: the scalar types and the compound types. The scalar types, we have FET 252, or FET, popularly known as FET, feed elements. It is the native type in Cairo. If Cairo cannot infer the type of whatever value you are assigning to a variable, it will automatically assign it to what? FET. We also have integer. We have integers, right? Our numerical values. Cairo supports integers. Cairo also supports Boolean, which is either true or false. And Cairo supports string. You guys are lucky, because when we started learning Cairo, there was no support for long string, only short string. So whatever you wanted to write then, whatever string you want to use must be less than 31 characters. Are you following? Yeah. But now, because of the introduction of long string, also known as byte array, we are going to talk about that later, you can now write as long as possible string. So we also have the compound type. The compound type, we have tuple, we have the unit type, we have the fixed array, and we have the dynamic array. So basically, FET is actually a number that is between 0 less than or equal to x and less than p. And the p is actually a very large. Can you see what the p is? Yeah. What is the p? A very large number. Who has computer science background here? Let me see answer. Two people. Awesome. So P is actually a very large number. And the bytes or the byte of Cairo is 252 minus 1, right? So it is the default for any type in Cairo, 3252 or FET in essence. So you can perform different operations. You can perform different operations on Cairo because it handles overflow and underflow automatically. What is overflow? Anybody? What is an overflow when it comes to numerical calculation?
So the unit is like is lesser than what you are trying to get.
It's when the unit is lesser than what you are trying to get. It's actually the opposite for the overflow, right? Over when it is more than the bounded limit of that particular data type. You understand? For example, you are trying to calculate on 8 bytes a number that is more than 2 raised to power what? 8 minus 1. So any number that is larger than that will lead to what? An overflow. While underflow is when you are trying to use a number that is what? Also less than the lower bound of that particular value or type. So, but FET actually handles this automatically. But then there is actually a case here. You cannot do division correctly with FET type. And this is actually things you need to know before actually writing the code. When you have FET, division output are not always accurate. So this is how division looks like for FET. X divided by Y times Y. You do this calculation first, then you times it by Y. It is now going to give you the value you are looking for instead of direct X divided by Y. Are you following? So look at this example now. 1/2 is supposed to give you what? 0.5, but this is what it's going to give you. Are you following? So to recap, FET is the default type. So whatever type you are not annotating or the compiler cannot infer, it's directed towards FET. Are you following? So the next type is integer. We basically have a signed integer, right? And an unsigned integer. What's the difference between the two?
One accepts unity.
One accepts negative value and the other does not. So for our FET 252, so sorry, for our signed integer, we have U8, which the upper bound is 2 raised to power 8 minus 1, right? We have U16, 2 raised to power 16 minus 1, up to 256. And 256 is a very large number. We also have U size, which is an alias for U32. Are you following? For the unsigned integer. For the signed integer, we have I8, I16, I32, I64, I128. Who can tell us how the number of a signed integer is gotten? We said minus 2. If 2 raised to power 8 minus 1 is a signed integer, what is the unsigned? Is the unsigned integer? What is the signed integer?
2 raised to power minus 8 plus 1 to 2 raised to power 8 minus 1, sorry. 2 raised to power minus 8 minus 1 to 2 raised to power 8 minus 1.
Is that accurate? Somebody said no. Who is saying no? Is it accurate? not y. Okay, from the virtual environment, is that accurate? Anyone there? All right. So it is actually not accurate. The number is divided by 2. The part of it is calculated negatively, and then the part is what? Calculated positively. So it cannot give you the same value. What did you call it again? Sorry. 2 raised to power. It is the number is divided by 2. So whatever you have with signed integer, 2 raised to power 8 minus 1, which is going to be the largest number, is going to be divided into 2. You understand? The part is going to be negative, minus 0, minus this, minus up until the largest number of the division by 2. Are you following? If 2 raised to power minus 2, 2 raised to power 8 minus 1 is going to give you 256, right? Or 250 what? 255. Good. Divided by 2 is going to give you what? 128. 0 to 128 minus 128. Minus 128 down to 0 to 128. Are you following?
So minus 128 to 0.
Then to 128. Do you understand now?
Yes.
So then the key features of integer, it has built-in overflow and underflow protection. Meaning that if you calculate a number that is larger than the upper bound of an integer, it is going to result into an error. Do you understand? The larger number that is larger than the upper bound is going to give you an error. Then we also have 256. Don't forget that FET is actually 252, right? Then we have 256, which is larger than 252. In this situation, we have what is known as a special struct that takes two 128 that fit into 252 bytes. Are you following? 256 is larger than 252, right? And we have a type that is actually 256. How are we going to now fit it into 252, which is the standard for Cairo? Instead of the going to be overflow of the 252, we have two 128 divided into 2 to fit the element of 252 into 252. So now there's something they call space packing. So now each of the elements you have, or each of the memory in Cairo is 252, right? So whatever you are going to put inside it is going to be one slot, right? So instead now, 256 is going to be how many slots? 2 slots. Because you are fitting two 128s into the memory. Do you understand? But on the long run, it's still one value, but read from 2 memory slots. So when you in your Solidity or in advanced Solidity, when they start teaching you about struct packing, they tell you that if you have values of variables that are less than 256, if you have them many in your state variables, right? Don't do 256, 256, this, and then pack all of them into the same slots. 128 is 156. When you actually declare the variables one after the other, the compiler pack 2 of them into a single slot. When you declare 128, then declare 256. The compiler creates a slot for 128 first, create a slot for 256, and then create a slot for 128. How many slots is that? 3. But when you pack for structs, you put 128, then 128, the compiler automatically fits 2 of them into one slot. Struct packing or slot packing. So for signed integer 128 to 127, So while integer 16 is equal to, are you following? What was the mistake we made here then? Is this accurate?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
But I didn't mention that we're going to do -1, right?
For the minus part.
Yes, for the minus part. So this is actually accurate now with the minus. You know, it's 2 raised to power 8 minus 1. But we didn't do the minus, we just do 2 raised to power 8, which is 256, right? Divided by 2. So we said minus 128 up to 128. But when the -1 comes into play, it leads to what? 127. Integer is going to panic if the subtraction is not accurate. Unsigned is going to panic rather if it is a negative result. You know, an unsigned integer does not support negative number, right? So if subtraction of an unsigned type leads to a negative number, your program is going to panic. All right, there's also the Boolean type. This one is simple, right? True or false? All of us are in this class currently. True or false? Who has gone to the market? You are here, but in the market. If you are here, but in the market, all of us are here. True or false? GM. It is false for this brother. All right, so you can only use the literal value. A lot of time, maybe when you have written several programming languages, concepts try to conflict in your head. You may be thinking 0 is what? And 1 is what? And then when you want to assign value to a Boolean, you try to do 0 or 1. But for Cairo, you have to write the literal value out, true or false. Each of these values is actually a complete fetch 252. Most of the time, you use the Boolean when it comes to control flow, right? We understand what a control flow is, right? What is a control flow? Logic. Things that must be satisfied before your code executes. Now we have the string type. We have the short string. The differentiating factor here is the quotes. For short string, it is going to be single quotes. For long string, it's going to be double quotes. Your short string is simply a type of 252. Are you following? Is this too theoretical? Are you following? Are you actually following? I don't want a yes if you are not following. Are you following? Is there any question? The essence of being here is to understand this thing. There is no need just tagging along. If there are areas that explanation could help you understand better. So are you following again? Awesome. So the limit of a short string is 31 ASCII high characters. You cannot write more than 31. Let me see if my code is going to do something. Okay. This is typical error when you actually get to testing or compiling the code. It's going to tell you, Oga, this thing is more than 31 characters. So you need to remove. or change it to type of byte array.
Space is called an apex.
Yes. So this is the example of a short string. Then we have the byte array. A byte array is a double string. Byte array is double string. There is no restriction. You can write as many characters as possible. It's an array of byte 31 with a pending 3252 buffer. So that's the reason why you can actually have as many as possible, because you keep appending to the array. Each of the strings you are entering is being appended to the array. So for longer string, that is where you use your byte array. All these theoretical parts, we are still going to actually go through the code. Are you following? We'll write the code. Don't worry, theoretical parts, but it is important. It's even a shortcut to getting started with Cairo as soon as possible. So we have what is known as the type conversion. Let's assume a type is actually type of 256, but you want to give this value into a type of 128. You know, Cairo is going to complain that they are not the same type. Are you following?
Regarding this thing, right? If you wrote example C that X value 0 or something, so we found that if you declare a string, can you just automatically assign X at this as 3 or say, then you if you want to do that string, then you give as actual string, because you have ABC there as 0x16, that's A, that's A. Can you just assign X value straight up? You will let X equals to a string of X values. Then, for an example, then you can take that and then display it as a string itself.
Exactly. If you look at the screen here, right, when you are declaring it as an X value or a string, you are not going to quote it. Are you following? It's not going to be in any quotes, just straight up the X value. So you can do that. So yeah, type conversion, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be when you are trying to fit one type into another type. And it happens a lot. We'll actually write something about it in the code. Let me quickly show you something. I was thinking I will just go into look at this line, right? There is a particular value here or variable progress U8 with a type of an unsigned integer 8, right? But then this progress is actually what? A U256. That's the type of progress. Now we want to assign it to U8. What do? We convert, type conversion. So in Cairo, you can do type conversion 2 ways. You can either use into or try into. And when you are using into, you are sure that the type you are converting is lower than the size of the type you are converting into. Are you following?
Again.
When you are converting and you are using into to convert one type to the other, you are very sure that the type you are converting, the byte size is lower than the byte size of the type you are converting into. For example, if you are converting a U8 into U256, we already know that U256 is a very large number that will take the maximum of U8 comfortably, right? So in that situation, we use into to convert the U8 into 256. But if it is vice versa, we are trying to convert from U8 from U256 to U8, we are going to use try into. Because in this situation now, under the hood, if the number is larger than the band, the maximum of U8, we are going to panic. So it's a form of handling error. If you are expecting a value to be larger than the size, you use try into. And this actually returns what is known as option type in Cairo, some or none. Are you following? So if it returns none, it is going to panic unless you actually undo it. You can undo it like say, okay, if this is actually none, do this instead. Is that understood?
No.
Kind of, right? Should I explain again? In short, it's actually try into undoes larger byte conversion into lower bytes. Why into undoes lower byte conversion into larger one?
More like, because as you said, converting from into 56 is like there isn't any need to really, they're only changing the data type. They're not changing the size of the value.
Exactly.
Yeah? But you to 56 to do it, the value itself will have to
Be more.
undergo transformation.
Exactly.
So, like, doesn't it mean that if you do that kind of conversion, yeah, you have a different value from what you started with?
No, you won't. For example, if your 256 is actually 1 million, the value you actually assign to your variable, which is of type U256, is 1 million. And you want to now convert that to U8, it is still going to be that 1 million that you want to assign to a variable of type U8. But don't forget that U8 has a maximum band of 256, 256, like the number that it can take is actually 256, while it is 8 bytes. The maximum number it can take is 256. Now you are trying to bring 1 million into a type that can only take maximum of 256.
So it will be like 1 million modulo 256.
No, it won't. It is just like you are trying to fit a square into a circle.
It won't work.
It won't work. You understand, all right? Now, what we are trying to do with this conversion is that there can be times where your 256 is actually just 2. Number is just 2. And that will fit comfortably into U8. So when you want to do that conversion, we do try into. You understand? That try into means that it turns an option type. The option type gives us sum and the value that you actually convert, or none.
Yeah, no.
Do you understand that? So what is the best practice when it comes to data types, especially the scalar types? You should prefer integers over facts when you are dealing with numerical calculations. Are you following? When you are dealing with numerical calculations, you should use integer all the time. Don't use facts because of what we talked about with division, right? Division is not accurate. It's going to give another number entirely, and it is not actually standard. It won't be able to handle calculations perfectly. So when you start writing code, use integers instead of facts. Use appropriate byte size. For example, if you know that you are going to take the population of the world and you are declaring a variable of U8, are you following? That program is bound to fail because the population of the world is over 6 billion, right? And 6 billion cannot fit into 256. Don't forget also that I mentioned that 256 is actually 2 slots. So if you know your number is not going to be that big, we'll actually display it. We'll see the maximum number that is in 256. If you know, there's no way the population of the world cannot reach this in multiple years, you can use lesser bytes. Are you following? When you know that you want to declare months, how many months do we have in a year?
Wow.
Should you use 256 as the value, as the data type? Which one will you use? U8, because 12 can easily fit into 256. So you need to know the perfect bytes to use for your variable declaration. You use usize. Don't forget I said an alias for 32, right? Usize is an alias for U32. Explicit type annotation. In a situation where the compiler cannot infer what type you're actually assigning, you need to annotate. This is an explicit annotation. Are you following? This is an implicit variable declaration. Is that understood? This is actually a variable, but it is not annotated because the compiler can actually infer that this is actually a type of smart contract address. Are you following? So this is just telling you that the compiler can actually figure out what type is it on its own. But in a situation where it cannot, you need to explicitly annotate the type that you are assigning. The compiler was not built to be able to figure out something is a custom type of campaign. One reason why I like making example with real life code is that you will see it in action. You'll be able to see that this is actually now code that is live in production and people are using. So not theoretical. This is how you do it when it gets to your time. You understand, right? The compiler cannot figure out any custom type. What are the custom types again? Tuple. Is tuple a custom type? No, it is not. Tuple is a compound type. Are you following? A custom type can be a combination of both scalar type and compound type. But it's just, but we have the custom types of structs, enums, right? Are you following?
Yes.
Enums, structs, they are what? They are custom types. Don't forget, short string is less than 31 character or equals to 31 character. Now, let's talk about the compound one. A tuple is actually just a parenthesis of different types or the same types, but grouped together, right? Are you following? So for example, let's say I should be using the so this is a tuple type. Let's Yeah, definitely.
And this length.
How about now? Is it bold enough?
Yes.
So that's just a tuple. The last line, line 8, is actually the tuple here. We grouped the different types into a single variable. Are you following? So it is just for the purpose of grouping data. I can call it, let me use so we can have a personnel that is the buyer, and then we group the buyer's details, the name, the amount of whatever they are buying, and their age into a particular variable. Are you following? So this is the simplest grouping available, like just straightforward, group them into parentheses. And if you want to actually get the data back, so yeah, it's a mixed type. You can combine different types into the same structure. It has fixed lengths. So size cannot change after declaration. Are you following? And the structuring, pattern matching to extract the words. Let's say we come here, we say, okay, let's what's too bad? This will automatically destructure the value inside the buyer into these new variables. So age will be num, amount will be num2, and the name will be the string. This is the structuring. This is how you actually get out. We can now use age anywhere in the code. There's a print line. Are you following? We can now use the structured variable anywhere in the code, because it is synonymous to all declaring each of these one after the other. But we got the value from the destructured buyer type, which is a tuple type. Are you following?
So if you have the tuple having multiple elements, you have to destructure it, for example.
You can index to. If you know the position, you can index into it.
It's just like an array.
It's just like an array. But one advantage over an array is that an array is usually a group of similar type or the same type. While this one can group multiple type, array is just the same type. Is that understood? So this is how you actually undo it. You can do type declaration. And this is the structure. You can declare tuple with type annotation. You can declare tuple without type annotation. Let the compiler infer it, whatever type you want to use. There is the value called unit type. The only possible value is empty parentheses, right? Empty brackets. It cannot be anything else, just the empty brackets. When you have a function that does not return anything, it is a what? It is a unit type. Are you following? When a function does not return any type, it's a unit type. It takes no memory in the compiled code. If there's a variable you declare as a unit type, there is no memory allocation to it when you compile your code. So function returning nothing returns unit type implicitly. It's represented as tuple with no elements. So it's basically an empty tuple, right? Are you following? Is it clear? Ask question, please. Let me pause here for questions. Any question? Let us ask questions, please. Let's ask. Let's talk. So you know the difference between signed integer and unsigned integer now, right? What about the data types? How many types do we have? One.
That's the
The scalar, and then the compound. You wanted to ask a question? Yes.
So I don't know what
This buyer, the variable buyer, right, is a type of tuple with this value assigned to it. Right? Yes, the element are these variables. Are you following? And 10 now, we can do what is known as the structured. Because under the hood, this buyer is just this. Is that understood? Now we are assigning each of these to different variables now. Do you understand? So age goes into num, amount goes into num2, and the name goes into string.
Each element is a variable.
Exactly. We are reassigning the variable to another variable. Variable name, which is a string, is now being assigned to the string variable. Are you following? Variable amount, which is a U256, right? Is now being assigned to another variable, num2. Are you following?
Then you say something that you can now
you can now use any of these variables declared here, anywhere in the code. The value will be the same as what we assigned here. Is that understood? All right. So we have the fixed size array. This is actually the array that is known at compile time. The size of the array is actually allocated at compile time. And the syntax for declaration is the type you are actually assigning to the variable and the number of elements that it's going to have. Are you following? We said it is the difference between the tuple and array because here you can only use a single type. Look at this particular example here. The array 1, which is an annotation of an array of U64, but the total element can be what? 5. And we assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements. This is an example of fixed array. Are you following? This is just playing on it. You can use the same value. You can use the different value. Here, you can just say, we are going to have 3 as the number, and then it's going to be in what? In 5 places. Are you following? The type can also be inferred. just like for other types. This will show us that under this, an element is an array of what? Array of which of the strings? Array of short strings because of the what? The single quotation. We also have the fixed size array. Sorry, Ugo, we are still talking about the fixed size array. So how do you access the element of an array? Is that? Yes, which is one of it. You can also use the structure too. You can destructure it using this type. Let's say. This semicolon. Yes, semicolon. So it's what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So we have the array here, right? So the structuring just simply means array 2 equals to this is actually just reassigning. Then we can have 1, 2, 3, dash, dash. Yeah. We now have 4 elements, right? So what is the underscore? We are ignoring the last index.
Yeah. What you used to have what you used to have there 2 on 14, but you can just discover the structures. You have ARG another way. Okay.
Yes, we can do that. Like, why don't we just the structure as in how?
Okay. On line 14, you have the very AR and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you know on line 10, you want to get the structuring the structure, you just structuring it directly. You're now like creating a new layer of the AR and 2. Now.
Oh, yeah, I understand that part. You know, I was actually reassigning the array to another array earlier on. So I did not, this is what I was doing earlier on, just reassigning that array 2 equals to R. So this is just direct reassigning of the variable. Is there another question? We talked about the type inference, right? So the structuring, that's what we have just done. There's another type which is known as the span conversion. The span conversion actually just copy. It copies the array so that you'll be able to index into it. Are you following? So the key feature of an array is that it is the same type. We talked about this earlier, right? It has a fixed length particularly for fixed size array. It is efficient. There's no runtime memory management required because your memory is already known as compile time. So now we have dynamic array, which is an array of type T. What does T mean? It's a generic. It can be any type. So T is any type, generic type. So it can be an integer, a string, a fet, whatever.
that time, how the value.
Exactly.
So since we have to have fells, since fells are the base type now, we can have an array containing different type of elements. For example, if we declare an array of fells, you can store numbers, strings, have a list of everything. Since you said the base type is felt, so it means technically you can have an array of different types.
In that situation, you definitely need to annotate it. Are you following? You have to annotate that this array is an array of facts. Otherwise, if you just go ahead and start assigning figures, it will the compiler will try to assume that the number is actually numerical. Are you following? So once you annotate that, it is going to be, let's be it's a type of (52). So this is how you declare that it's going to be an array of 3252. So you have already annotated this, right? Now you can now come and start appending, say, diff array dot append. So you can now start appending any figure you like. But under the it knows that it's what? Of facts. It still have to be the same thing. Are you following? Even when you are declaring a new dynamic array, it has to come this way. The type must be explicitly stated. So whether you now put short string, you put number, it knows that they are what? They are facts. Is that understood? So it's a collection type to store the element of the same type. It can grow and shrink during runtime. You know, fixed cannot actually grow or shrink during runtime, right? Because it is fixed. It has a queue-like behavior. It supports appending to the end and then removing from the front. Once written, memory slot cannot be overwritten. What does that mean? Once you assign a variable to the index of that particular array, right? Even when you pop it, the new appendage is not going to override the memory slots of the one you pop. It's going to be another slot entirely. The index will be different. No, the index will not be different. This memory now, you understand? In the memory, that's why Cairo is actually safe. You know what's called memory leakage, right? So you cannot overwrite an already written to memory. It is immutable. You know, some people will be like, if we cannot change, if Cairo is actually immutable by nature, then we should be able to pop a value and put another value to the same index, right? What are we doing there? It is mutable then. But for array, it is not mutable. If you pop from that index, from that memory slot, the same index, but different memory slots.
So it's almost each time you change something, it might be just a brand new one, and then so it's like if you have a box and you store something and you want to store and create a separate box,
separate compartment inside the box.
Yes, then puts it there.
So the box has 4 compartments. You have 4 items inside the box, right? When you pick out one from that compartment, from one of the 4 compartments, you want to return another one back. It will instead add one more compartment inside the same box for you to keep the new one. You cannot come and say, no, it is fruit that is in the compartment 4. No, it is not fruit. It is what? It is an object. Maybe it is pen. No. Even when you removed it, we know what is there. Because as at the time when you are coming back, if it is possible for you to drop another thing in that same compartment, it is now arguable. You can now say, no, it is pen that is there, not key. But if it is not immutable, whatever you remove from there, the trace is still there. That this is what you removed from this particular compartment. Is that understood?
No. So if once you do that, that means later the Cairo database collector will not clear that.
It will drop. Do you code Rust? You write Rust. So it is simply unused memory allocation will be dropped after the program is executed. So there is no way you are going to corrupt the memory. There's something called traits. A majority of these types actually implement traits that is drop. So once the particular code executes, it is dropped from the memory. Are you following?
Yes.
So this is how you declare the array. Array trait.new. You can use explicit type. This is what I did earlier on. Explicit type, and it can also be implicit. Yeah, this is implicit, right? This is explicit. When you want to access a dynamic array, use the get index, which returns an option of box at span of t. It returns none if the index you are trying to get is what? Out of band. So we have 4 items in the array. You pass index 4. What will happen? It will return none. And to get access to the underlying value, you use the number, the particular type.
Recording in progress.
So when you do this, the actual type of index 1 is going to be option of box span of t. This is the type, right? This is the type you get when you do get. This is the type you are going to get. So instead of, you cannot just use this like this, you have to actually unbox it. So you do so when you do index 1 dot unbox, it is going to it is going to give you what? A span of t, a reference t. Then to get the underlying value again, or the reference it with asterisk. Do you understand?
Is that span of t thing that what is t spanning?
Now, I will stay, but I'm not supposed to actually go this deep for your introduction. You
So you
understand,
will go
right?
deep.
Eh?
You will go deep.
Span is actually like a copy. Remember we said earlier on that if you want to access a fixed array from here, that you use the span, right? Look at this particular place. Let my span is equal to my array dot span, right? This span is a copy of the original array.
Okay.
So it is this copy that we are accessing from here. So when you see at t, it means it's like a reference to the original what? Element or type.
Okay.
You understand?
Why, for example, why can't you just print my array?
Why can't I just print your, okay, on print line, this print line, right?
Yeah.
Why can't I just print your array? If I print the array, it's going to actually print this element. But accessing the array, I need,
Okay.
there is a span conversion method for accessing the array. You understand? What the span conversion method does is that it copies the original array. Are you following?
Yeah, I get that.
You can now work on the copied.
Okay, so basically you don't want to whatever
I don't want to
process you
index
don't want
directly to the original one.
and make changes.
So
to the-
span is just like a copy, a reference to the same.
But is it read-only?
It is not read-only.
Okay, so that means if you create multiple spans, that means you have created multiple new memory, you duplicated that array and you stored into another variable. Like elaborate my span is close to my array dot span.
It's another memory variable entirely.
Okay, and you can create another span.
You can create another span from it again.
Does what you change in the span, does it affect the original array?
It doesn't.
Alright.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So it doesn't affect the original array. We'll get to mutable and immutable feature of Cairo.
So the boxing and unboxing basically makes a copy of the array that you are boxing or unboxing.
When you are using a dynamic break, you've gone. Okay. You've gone on me because we are almost, our time is almost off for the entire class. So yeah, the span is actually a copy. You understand, right?
Yeah.
When you are doing dynamic array, you are doing dynamic array size. So when you index into it, you are trying to get the value. You know it is one time, right? You are trying to get the value. This value does not return the underlying data directly. Because of runtime safety, it returns option of a box type. And the box type now write a span of the original type.
Okay.
You understand? So, which is the reference of the original type? Look at what it returns here.
Okay, but on line 20 now, this means there's a possibility that when line 19 runs, we read something that is not there, we point to something that is not there in memory. So from what you said is that you have like options, have some and none. So how do we ensure that once we are on line 20 and we are trying to actually read the value that line 19 is pointing to, and we are sure that if it is not there, the code executes successfully?
Good. That is where you actually now do error management. What I'm just doing here is that I'm just showing you how to, if you know that there is actually definitely an element inside the array, how to get to the underlying value itself is what I've shown you. But when you are not sure, you now actually match, or you do if. If this particular action is what returns none. none. You understand? Do this. Most time in Cairo or in Rust to use match statements. You do like this. Match. So if it is sum, you understand? You do this. You end it, do whatever, do something. And if it is none, do this. You understand? You are handling the error type, error now. If this gets returns none, you are handling the error. The code is not going to panic. It's going to be something else. Do you understand? But if you know already, but how are you now going to get the value that you are returning? It's where the unbox comes into play. For example, now, this particular place now, if it is sum, you just do the unboxing directly. You say, index 1. Index 1 dot unbox. So when the return value contains something, if it does not, you say panic. Right? Or you do something else entirely. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you can perform different method on an array, just like your normal array of len returns the number of elements in the array. And you can also do Boolean if it is empty. You do this. If the array is empty, you do this. It's also similar to this error control we mentioned earlier. If you are not sure if the array contains any elements, you can just call the array.empty. If array is empty, do this. If it is not empty, get to this index for me and get out the underlying data. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when do you use each of these arrays? When you know the size ahead, you already know the number of months in a year, right? Yes. So you use fixed array. When you need static data, like month name, you use fixed array. When you want a critical performance, like very fast, because you know it does not shrink or increase. So compile time code is what you are going to run at runtime. There is no need for runtime code generation. Are you following?
Yeah.
So you also use fixed array, and if you have small number, maybe 1 to 10, that's not going to expand to 1 million, you use a fixed array. When you have dynamic size, you cannot determine how many, the band of whatever number you are expecting. You use a dynamic array. When you need the users to impute value at runtime, that means you don't know what the value is ahead of time, right? You also need dynamic array. When you need to remove or add to the elements, boss. Are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
So general purpose, when you are sure about the size, you use what? So let's code. It's time to code.
Maybe.
Here now you are going to lead me through it. You downloaded Scarb, right? To start a new Cairo project, Scarb, new, whatever it is. So you have the option to either choose Foundry framework or Cairo test. For testing purposes, you have the option to choose Foundry or Cairo. You know the difference as time goes on. seen any statically typed language before? Is anyone familiar with any statically typed language? Solidity. Okay. Solidity is what I'm looking for. Yeah, C.
Yeah, C++.
C++. In C particularly. C has entry point, right? So Cairo also has an entry point. If you are running a executable in Cairo, it has to be main function. Main. You understand, right?
Yeah.
It has to be main. Okay, let's perform operation on. Okay, this is actually be taught in subsequent class, but you already know about variable declaration, right? I've been doing that since. Let's blah blah is equal to blah blah is what? Variable declaration. Let's now go to true. Yeah. Ah. Basically, what is this code? This line, line 1. There's another one they usually use for it. Right? Function, yes, function signature, right? Yeah, this is the function signature. If you compile Cairo code with the function there alone, it is going to compile. If there is no main function in the code, it is never going to compile. Are you following? Yeah. For Cairo, if you are writing Cairo programming projects, because there's a difference here. When you go to smart contracts, you do not need main function to be able to compile your smart contracts. Are you following?
Yes.
But if it is Cairo project you are writing, there is a need and there must be main function. So let's do arithmetic. In Cairo, when you are writing the function signature, the parameters must be typed. Are you following?
Yes.
The parameters must be typed. So let's say units. And arrow is the return type in Cairo. What this simply means is that we are returning a type of unit. Are you following?
Yes.
We are returning a type of unit. So whatever mathematical computation we do inside here must return unit type. Meaning anybody who is just looking at our function signature can interact with it from outside, because they know the type it is expecting and the type is going to return. Do you understand?
Yes.
Recording stopped.
A plus B is actually the computation, but it's actually called implicit return. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
So implicit return, and we also have explicit return. When you use the return statement, and then you turn this into a complete statement, it becomes explicit. Explicit return. Right? That would be the internet, right? Don't let me do the buggy things now currently. Let me just do what is expected. Let me still introduce the bug and see. 30 plus 50 plus 0. Okay. The compiler is not allowing us to introduce bug. No, we'll get to the bug part. I think it will be possible when we get to division. So now we've written a function, right? A simple function that adds two arguments together and return the results. This is an explicit return, as I said earlier, but if there is no need for explicit return, you do implicit returns. So if we do, oops, Scarb test. it compiles our code and tests that this assumption is going to be accurate. You understand, right? Hmm? Okay, I'm too fast. Oh, you are trying to code along, right? Okay. So the print line is actually a macro in Cairo that helps you print to the console. If you do not know, if you want to debug an error or you want to debug and you want to get a value printed out, so you know exactly what is being passed into it, you use the print line. So here, although we already know what the addition is going to be, right? This is just basic 30 plus 50. But we still want to be able to print out what the result is. We do Scarb test. The result is what? 80. Let's do. Are you coding along? Is there anyone coding along?
Yeah. First.
What type should we use? For sub. We should use fet, right? Let's test your assumption. Right? Let's use fet. Okay. Feds. 52. Don't start. Feds. 52. What are we doing here? Speech. Sorry, am I too fast? So let's test our assumption. Okay.
Are you changing it or you are adding?
You will add. So this super actually means that whatever is out of this module, right? We are trying to bring it into the scope of this module. You understand, right? So there is a module out of this module. We are bringing this into this module. We can actually still group this one and say, no, it should be in maths. We can go the other part and say maths dot add, right? You don't want to complicate it. It should be, huh? No, without, if you actually bring another module, you introduce another module, and you are bringing it into scope, that function has to be publicly available. You understand? So, but this advanced or later class for later sessions, right? But what I would just want to show you is that this is the part to bring functions, threads, custom types into the scope of a module. Are you following?
I said
Use this, use that. If you are familiar with Rust, you know how to, you know this is actually what we do in Rust. So yeah, now we need add. What do we do here? Do we do sub? Yeah. Which bracket? Why should we do that?
when we are picking the other, when we are picking the other, when we do
Just like a package of things, so you are trying to pick something so when you grab up, it's just to do that, that's
Exactly. They are like parental tree structure, right? The same part of math is the parent for two other functions. Are you following? So those two functions are what? Stub and add. So, but why is the sub giving us quickly line? Of this, right? Right? Why will it fail?
Because we are starting that the result should be 2, when it is 1.
Why it should be
1.
1? Let's see. Fail. But what did you notice? The code ran until the assert line. So we will still print out the results, which is what? 1. So subtraction for fets most time works, right? We do the same thing for division and see why when you are dealing with numerics, you have to use integers and not fets. You said? We should swap. Okay, 2 and 3. We expect this to fail. That? Oh, why?
I'm asking you.
Okay, you're asking. I thought you were asserting.
Oh.
Yes, fact does not. I wouldn't say. Wait, let me check out. It actually does. It accepts negative values. But now look at what it printed out as the return. It is not even panicking for overflow. It is not overflow.
The result is overflow.
The result is not overflow. The result is not. The result is not overflow. It actually results to a particular number. But because it is fixed, numerical operation on it is not going to be accurate. You understand now, right? If it is integer, you know what you are expecting, you know what it should output, right? But see what it's giving you as the result of 2 minus 3.
So if it's exponential,
It is going to be buggy. So when you are dealing with numbers, you use integers.
is there a particular display behavior, or that's why we should just avoid it?
There is a particular reason because it is actually written for constraints. There are constraints under the hood. You understand? And that is why you will not see division behaving the way it is. You understand, right? So that is why if you are writing or dealing with numbers, use integer. Don't use facts. Do you get that? Let me test one assumption.
That's a question.
Mhm.
And okay, this one, maybe so it includes mass module, right? Now got it inside the testing module as new super colon mass. So if you should just take down another file, or maybe another second try and move that module and make it that right. How do you going to try with this file?
Is that?
Like, so if you should take
This is how you are going to do it. What's the name of this package? Maths. So when you now want to bring it into scope here, you use the name of your package, maths, slash the file that you're actually bringing into scope, then the function itself. Don't forget to, here we'll actually declare mode maths, and then we create a file called maths.cairo. This is crazy. So this is what is going on here.
Use math.
Now, do you know where the math is coming from?
What's the mod? Then math.
Math the package, math the file, and math the mode inside the file. You can have multiple modules inside the same file. It will not be, you will not be able to access the module. But in lieu of the math, the crate name, you can use crate directly. It's just the default word for the name of the project itself.
Okay. For the name of the project.
You can use crate for it. Project last name. See the name here. Yeah. See, this is your scarb.toml. It's like your package.json. It is the project manifest. The another word to refer to the project you are working on is the crate.
But you said that was it in this scenario that use math. You said it's math the package, then math the file.
No, math the project.
Okay, initially you said math the package.
Oh, sorry, math the project. Math the project, math the file, then math the module. You know why we're having this error? Why are we getting this error?
That is one of the error.
We are trying to convert. This is a result of what?
The result of
The value, the type of result is what? 252. And we are trying to convert it into a U8. It is expected that it might fail because the value of x.
So we should do try.
We use trying to. Why did the unwrap fail?
Because
No,
the
because
result
science,
the result is
it's the converter is just a sign value, and then 2 minus 3 is giving us -1, which is the sign bit. So it fails.
at times use for the plate to have the X. Sometimes use lines for the plate to have the
No, no, that is actually correct. It is the fact that it is an integer. We are trying to bring a digit that might be unsigned, no, signed integer into an unsigned integer. You understand, right? UH does not support negative number. But that's not what I want to figure out. Let's use a signed integer. You know what happened here? When we converted the facts to the integer, it gave us the actual value we're expecting. You understand? Which is -1. But when we run the integer directly, what did we get? A very large number. Exactly. Do you get it? So you convert it to the integer. So this one I understand that, okay, this is an integer, not a magic number. Are you following?
That's the log, so that's the log, so it's 100.
This is the log for 21. This fact works. 22 will not run because of what? It panicked because the assertion is not correct. So that's why it is giving us the error message. This works. In case of panic, it returns the error message.
So in Cairo, you can have your test and your code in the same file.
Yes. You can have it there. It is typically writing Rust because that's how it is there too.
There's no test because
Like the test, you can put it in the same file with the module you are testing. And you can as well have a different file or folder created specifically for tests. It is similar to you having a unit tests and then what? Integration tests. Are you following? So unit test is when you want to actually test each of your assumptions in the code. Why the integration is just the flow of what you expect the program to do. Is that understood? Wait. Okay. Let's do any other assumption we should test. Let's do probe function null. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's use U8. B is U8. U8. Good night. Let's go. So let's say let's read dots. So, Should I? It's too wide. Okay. There's going to be problem. If I zoom out a little, some people will say it is too. Can you see the screen like this? Okay, I don't worry, we can visit that.
What do you use as a type?
What?
What do you use as a type?
U8. Why will it crash?
Because whatever the answer is bigger than two.
It will not fit in. So I don't need to.
Multiplying the limit by the limit.
So what do we do in this situation?
We do into maybe 128 or something.
We do into 128. So which one should we do into?
That is what. Because to the result not for you to return.
Most of is already returning a smaller type that's U18. So starting from 11 where you call you pass 55 times 55, that point on 11 will already be returning a value that's already exceeded what you expected to return. So if you try to go and use 2 to at that point, you have to
Do you know that this code will compile? Currently to compile.
Compile, but when you at that point in the code where you are testing, when you reach that part where you want to now use that result as that you are getting, that is when you detect that that thing has already exceeded.
Perfect. So how do we solve that problem?
You have to on line 10, you have to tell it to give us something different. That's the return type of more.
Okay. Return type U32, huh? U32. But there's still Okay, you think it is because of the value of 55 times 255?
Yeah,
That's why it is going to be more than 32. No, it isn't. U32 is 2 raised to power 32 minus 1. 255 times 255 is not up to that number. Now, what is happening here is basically the fact that we are trying to return a value that is not of the same type with the type we are expecting to return.
Yes, so number 11 goes to into it.
It is supposed to be into it. So in that situation, you just wrap that into, right? So this will work now.
Yes.
So when you are inputting, you don't need to declare the data that you are inputting.
The compiler can infer. You understand? When the compiler look at the function signature, it sees U32. It realizes that you are trying to convert two U8s into U32. The compiler automatically infer that and undo the heavy lifting for you under the hood. You understand? Where the compiler does not, especially when it now comes to trying to, this is what you are seeing here is similar to you doing, what you see here, right? It's similar to you doing let's annotate U32. You understand? Because the compiler can see that it's U32, that is the return value. And then we are actually returning the value directly. So it is going to convert into U32.
If on the intent you are very explicitly say you should return 32 and you just return 8 times into what happens is assume it's a text, so if for example you take the dot into part of line 11 and then you remove the explicit return of 32 on the check, what happens? It should know that 8 times b should give us
If you remove U32 from here, right? You have to replace it with another.
no, you are not using it.
Then it is not, the function is not returning anything. It's a unit type.
You have to be very explicit.
You have to be explicit. That is one of the safety of. When I ran the test, only 2 tests ran. What happened? I didn't have that. Yes, it is. It is basically just called external annotation. So external annotation, we did not annotate the function that this is what the function is. So the compiler did not understand the text function.
At least answer the question, like, learning all these things that you like, we have CFG, dash hashtag CFG test. We now have this one now, all test. Now, and these things created for you automatically by learning, or you as the programmer, you also write your own in case you, because like, we come from the TypeScript world, like you can write a decorator, then put it there, and then should you make the function behave in the different way, you can have as many of them, you can just decorate the function with multiple decorators. But the way those things are used there, and is it mostly the programmer that can decide to write their own, or they're already packaged, so you just use them there, you don't need to worry about what it does, just put it there, it does its own thing, and that's it.
That's a good question. When you write your own library, right? A library that performs popular function that people can actually use, bring into the scope of their own project. You can also configure that this only works when this is actually in scope. You understand, right? So in your code, some functions will be hidden behind configurations. So if those configurations are not explicitly stated in the people that brought your own package into their own product, right? If they not explicitly state it, they will not be able to access those functions. So you can also use configuration. You can say configuration explicit, let's say configuration server. So if in your own project, you said without this configuration brought into scope, you should not be able to access whatever is in your server module. You understand? You can do that in your own library. But in this library now, in this particular library now, this is actually something, it's another library. It's the core library for Cairo. So this is now telling us that the compiler will figure that this is a configuration made for tests. And we treat this separately from the main function in the file. You understand? If we do Scarb run, we will not see this function. It will never come out. Only whatever is inside, let's test it. Let's say print line, you know what? You're supposed to print this out. Where is carbon not doing? Yes. So what I'm saying in essence is that when you do carbon, you notice that there's nothing concerning the configuration in the terminal, the text in the terminal at all. So meaning that the compiler is going to ignore everything that is here, that is only meant for the testing environment. So whatever follows this, the module that follows this must also be test. Are you following? You can't have an arbitrary name for it. It must be test. So that's how the compiler now knows. Because here, if we annotate every function here as text, the compiler is going to run it as test, but we can have EPA function inside the test module. So if you do not annotate them, the compiler will understand that these are not meant to be run as test, but just EPAs. Are you following?
Yeah.
Let's have an EPA here. you can use this type to annotate value. The number underscore the data type. You understand, right? So in this situation now, this assert is
This is possibly probability.
oh, this recursion. So okay. Yeah, do you understand now? So we can replace all of the assert statement with test assert. And the code and the compiler will not run the test assert function. It will only run the functions we annotated with tests. Is there any question?
Now, that thing called test there, that those things you are using, and you are the programmer, are you allowed to like create your own, like, for example, when you start writing, I'm sorry that we are doing, because most of us are students in the academy, so we have messed around with some time. But for example, you are writing a Starknet Foundry, you use that Starknet thing, is it you as the programmer, can you create your own directives like test? Or those things, this thing, or they are mostly the ones that are already created for you.
If you are creating an infrastructure that people can use, you are following, right? You can actually create conditions for them to work. You get? So it is just like your infrastructure is going to be a meta programming where the code they write is generated into an expanded code under the hood. But that means they have to annotate their code with this external annotation or macro. You understand? What is happening here is that this text is actually being expanded in the compiler. It's not just here for decoration. This code we are seeing here is expanded into something bigger under the hood. If it is in Rust, there's a way you can actually check the output of the compiler code. You understand? So here, this test is when you are writing your own infrastructure, you are not writing a Starknet contract, you are not testing a Starknet contract, then you can actually write something with your own configuration that people who want to use it must abide by that configuration. You understand? But here, it is very idiomatic. You cannot use anything you like, otherwise it will not work as expected. We cannot say, don't test. Don't test. It doesn't even understand what it is. You understand? But when you are writing your own configuration, there is actually, I think it's in Rust. There's actually a book that teaches you how to now do complex thing with the language. If you want to write this particular create, how you are going to do it, if you want to do this, how you are going to do it. But under the hood, a lot of this, even Cairo leverage Rust a lot. So all of this compiler, the compiler of Cairo is written with Rust. No, it's written with Cairo itself. You understand? But the Starknet Foundry tools is written in Rust. A lot of the infrastructure in Starknet are written in Rust. So you understand the logic that under the hood, they are just expanding the code you are writing into something that can actually work as expected. You get the analogy, right? It is similar to we saying, okay, we can actually use something else as the entry points of this file instead of main. You understand? There are some conditions for it to work. When you are also writing maybe when you are working on a project, most of the time you don't just allow arbitrary inputs from anywhere. It may break your code. Right? That's exactly one of the reasons for using Cairo or for using Cairo, yes. Because we are expecting it right from the beginning that if you are calling this test assert, you must pass a type of U256. If it is JavaScript, you can just say results, and it can be string, it can be Boolean, it can be anything. So this constraint are what made Cairo one of the statically typed and saved languages to write code in. Is it understood? Is there any other question? From what we discussed so far in the class, is there anything unclear?
What is this region? Your own, your own is a basket, and that's what it is, right?
Mhm.
So, this is, I have to choose one that's all before it actually means like so shelter.
Which phrase?
I'm still not-
You know, if you assign a variable, right, in Cairo, you have to use it. Although the thing is that the underscore, what it is telling you there should not be an error. It is just a warning. It is yellow squiggly line, not red squiggly line.
Yes, but- Still, still, that's what we do.
What's the
This one.
we go to-
I think if I put underscore.
Are you sure it is not showing? It is showing. It is not showing you another error. So the error on the previous line will show first before the next one.
So now you said if you want to convert from one type to the other, we can use into or try into. Now you now also said there's another alternative method where you can use the variable underscore the type, like 80 underscore 56.
No, you are not converting in that instance. You are just explicitly stating what type that particular value is. You are not converting. So, 80 can be 256 can be unit 8 because it fits into both bytes. But when you are trying to send it and the function signature of test assert expects a type 256, you understand? It automatically thinks it is 80 of U8. So now we now said, okay, no, this 80 is not U8. This 80 is 256.
So, but this means that if it's a variable and result in itself, so 80 is already like 80 is a number, you can just directly convert it to 56. But like result on the inside now, if we needed to convert it, that's to if that's one we use the into if we bring it to
Exactly. And we might not. Let me just look. But it won't work. You see that as an assumption? We were trying to annotate the variable and see if we can force the return type into it.
so then we have to call add then into.
Dot into. If you want to make this work. But instead of doing that, we are already doing that by converting it to into here. The into here is just taking the unit 8 and converting it to 256 because the test assert signature is what? 256. This is how it is inferring which type it should convert result into. Because it looks at the test assert function signature, and the function signature is what? 256. Is there any other question? Assignment. Assignment. Create different types of play around with what you have just done today. Then make sure you cover all the data types that we mentioned. You can go ahead of the class and introduce conditions, conditional statements, so that you'll be able to use the Boolean values. And as well, also do arrays. Are you with me? Even if you are going to use AI, make sure you type out the code with your hand, line by line. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Even if AI will solve it for you, use typed out the code line by line. It is called muscle memory. One of the best ways, whenever they are teaching copywriting, they will tell you you should also copy the notes or the letters or the ad written by somebody else. The same way, don't change anything. You are going to be tapping into their brain model, the model of their brain by just, okay, line by line, line by line, line by line, line by line. As you are writing, there's brain and coordination or collaboration that is registering that into your brain. So yes, that should be the end of our class today. So we'll continue on Friday. Don't forget the assignment, please. I will ask for it. I believe you already have a dedicated GitHub for this course, right? Yeah, a repository on GitHub.
We actually use this code.
On Blockhead as a GitHub. Okay, we'll create a branch for Cairo. We'll create a branch for Cairo, but make sure you just do the assignment on your local PC first, and then we coordinate how you are going to get it to the upstream. All right, thank you for having me, and that will be the end of our class.